So let's kick off this deep dive with a really powerful central paradox. You have the protagonist, Kate Delahunty, and she's just agreed to marry her fiancé, Keith, a kind, devoted man.
Right.
And in that exact moment, the moment she hears herself say, I would marry him, she knows, with this, just this gut-wrenching clarity that she's hit rock bottom.
And that right there is the hook that just pulls you into Evelyn Cosgrave's 2008 novel, Desperately Seeking.
Yeah.
The definitive yes to a future of stability, of devotion with a genuinely good person isn't a moment of triumph.
No.
It's framed as an existential failure.
Yeah.
And I think that's just such a potent way to start an exploration of, modern relationships and all the anxiety that comes with them.
Oh, absolutely. We've got the entire novel as our source material here, and we're really going to treat it as a kind of raw case study. We want to get into the mind of this woman who is just trying to square her messy, complicated inner life with these very rigid external expectations.
She's dealing with career frustration, the immense pressure of being part of a big, well-known Irish family in Limerick, and she's trying to figure out if that, that fleeting thrill of a secret, illicit passion is worth giving up the comfort of profound reliability.
It's so much more than just choosing a partner, isn't it? It feels like she's choosing a version of herself.
Exactly.
So our mission today is really to unpack these choices Kate makes, which on the surface seem completely irrational. I mean, accepting a proposal you immediately regret. We're going to meticulously analyze the whole ecosystem of the Delahunty family. That's 6 sisters and their parents, a whole world in itself. And we'll follow that winding path that takes Kate from this predictable but ultimately false engagement with Keith to a love story that is just utterly unexpected.
Yeah, with someone who was, in a way, hiding in plain sight the entire time. We want to see how her self-perception, the relentless pressure from society, and those really painful past mistakes. We have to talk about the affairs, how all of that dictates her shot at happiness. We're looking for those key moments where she finally stops running from reality and, maybe for the first time, starts running toward it. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's start with that proposal and the immediate, overwhelming feeling of dread it causes. Let's start at what you called the beginning of the end, which is, of course, Keith's proposal. And the way Cosgrave writes it, it's just beautiful and almost heartbreakingly sincere.
It is.
Keith is offering her everything she should want, at least on paper. He's so unassuming, he didn't even buy a ring because he said he didn't trust his own taste.
Which shows such a lack of ego, right? It's all about her.
Completely. And yet Kate accepts. But she feels like the universe just sort of demanded a resounding yes from her. It wasn't really her choice.
And we really have to linger on her internal monologue right there because it's the absolute definition of a choice made out of convenience. Her core motivation is just emotional fatigue. She even admits it to herself. She says she'd been lazy.
Lazy. That's a brutal word to use about your own relationship.
It is. She says she'd simply become accustomed to him, and this is the crucial part, she had forgotten what the relationship was supposed to be. The commitment wasn't a passionate decision, it was just a comfortable habit. It was a surrender.
It's the stability that feels like suffocation.
Yeah.
Keith, this 32-year-old chemical engineer at the Shannon plant, he's like a blanket of profound, maybe even boring goodness.
Yeah.
He tries to tell her how he feels. He promises to make her happy. And she literally has to turn away from him because that level of sincerity is just terrifying to her.
It's terrifying because it forces her to confront the fact that she doesn't feel the same way back. Not even close. And so she immediately, almost subconsciously, starts to diminish him in her own mind to justify that lack of feeling.
Oh, yeah.
She calls his job profoundly boring, at least half the time. She sees him as a schoolboy, saying he looks exactly the same as he did in his primary school maroon jumper.
His coloring is nondescript.
Exactly. Nondescript. She's weaponizing his stability. By making him seem small and ordinary, she can justify why she feels so trapped. It's easier than admitting her own crippling fear of something simple and good.
And the cruelest observation, I think, the one that really stands out, is her thought that his face gets nicer with knowing. It's such a backhanded compliment. It suggests he's not attractive to her on his own terms. She has to, put in the work, the emotional labor, just to appreciate his face.
Whereas Daniel O'Hanlon, her former lover, was just instant, high-octane attraction, no work required. It says everything about where Kate is emotionally. She's choosing convenience over clarity. She's choosing this kind of superficial appreciation over a genuine connection she'd have to actually invest in.
And Keith, this stable glow, He is just completely in love with her. He tells her she's amazing. He says she glows and lights up a room.
And she just completely dismisses it.
Instantly, she jokes that the glow is just from her sparkly eyeshadow and D-Glow bronzing powder.
She can't accept the compliment because that would mean letting him really see her, and that requires a vulnerability she's just not capable of at this point in the story.
And that need for the high-octane emotional risk, that's a direct result of the huge shadow cast by Daniel O'Hanlon, isn't it?
Absolutely. He is the ghost in the machine of this relationship. He's the standard that Keith is being measured against, and it's a standard Keith is doomed to fail. Not because Keith is lacking, but because Daniel was so toxic.
So toxic and the complete antithesis of Keith.
Totally. Daniel is unattainable. He's a married partner in a major law firm. He's admired. He's strikingly good looking. And Kate was drawn to the complications of their affair because it made her feel, superior, mature.
Yeah, especially.
She loved the passionate, secret nature of it. And there's this quote that's so telling. She says, "I didn't want what they had, the family life, the tedium, the reliability."
So it wasn't even really about Daniel the person. It was about the feeling he gave her. The secrecy was the drug. The fact that their relationship was a transgression, it made her life feel more exciting, more interesting than the, quote, inhibited boyfriend or husband-having world of her friends and sisters.
But that kind of dynamic, it's built on a foundation of pure denial, so it's bound to implode. And it does during a trip to Paris.
Paris, of all places. The city of love becomes the scene of the crime, essentially.
Right. It should have been the romantic peak, but it became the catalyst for the end. Kate, drunk and tired of waiting for him, realizes she actually wants more. She wants permanence, a future, transparency.
And Daniel, who's 42 at this point, and clearly exhausted from living a double life, wants less. He feels her pulling for more and he just recoils.
But here's the perfect irony in all of it. Daniel is so meticulous, so careful about hiding the affair in Paris, covering every detail. And yet his wife finds out anyway. Not because of some slip-up in Paris, but because of helpful office gossip back home in Limerick.
You just can't control it. It underscores the futility of it all.
Yeah.
The whole structure just collapsed the second Kate started wanting something real.
And that devastation is what sends her spiraling right into Keith's proposal, which is why the engagement starts with all these immediate, really alarming red flags.
That rock-bottom feeling, it doesn't lead her to try and build genuine intimacy with Keith.
Nah.
It leads her to seek the intimacy of distraction, of a big crowd. She immediately launches into this chaotic, full-on party time makeover. She's pulling out all the machinery of transformation, just desperate to fill that emotional vacuum with noise and parties and anything superficial.
And the fraudulence of it all gets physically cemented when they go ring shopping.
Oh, that scene is so uncomfortable to read.
It is. Keith is trained to do everything right. He's being formal, proper, focused on the technical stuff carrots, clarity. He sees the ring as this permanent symbol to be passed down. And Kate is just walking around this plush, carpeted store, feeling physically sick.
She's nauseous. She can't even articulate why, but she knows she feels like she's the interloper.
Because she is. And the source material is so clear about this, the moment he puts a price tag on it, several €1,000, their relationship just disintegrates in her mind.
It becomes a transaction. A loving habit becomes a forced commitment. She knows deep down she can't honor. She literally has to flee the shop.
She has this thought that the ring belongs to somebody who deserved it. It's a moment of profound self-reproach. She's running from the reality of the commitment because the whole engagement is just a convenient, stable way to avoid the emptiness Daniel left behind. She's using Keith as a shield.
And this fear of commitment, of, settling into that predictable path, it's something that feels very specific to her generation in the novel. And it contrasts so sharply with the world her mother came from, which I think sets us up perfectly to dive into the unique pressure cooker of the Delahunty family dynamic.
The Delahunties, they are such a fascinating study in the complex choreography of a large Irish family, especially one with 6 daughters.
6 daughters. You have Jean, Marion, Lucy, Anna, Ruth, and then Kate, the youngest.
And the novel immediately throws out all those cozy, traditional birth order stereotypes you might expect.
Right. Kate isn't the spoiled baby of the family. She's the unasked-for youngest. She arrived less than a year after Ruth, who was meant to be the family pet.
Which means Kate often felt forgotten about, or just sort of absorbed into the general noise and chaos of the household.
And Jane, the oldest, who you'd think would be the steady, responsible one, she later becomes the one who causes the most dramatic change of all.
The six of them form this very specific, very complex, and I think importantly, very noisy ecosystem.
Hmm.
Every choice one sister makes just reverberates through the entire group. So Kate's engagement isn't just a personal decision, it's a public event for the family to be scrutinized and measured against what everyone else is doing.
And you can see the foundation for all that pressure when you look at the parents. The dad, he comes from a family that was dispossessed a long time ago, and now his only real work is his garden.
He's always classifying things as a bit of work, isn't he?
Constantly. He's supportive, but he's also just completely baffled by his daughter's complicated lives, their careers, their relationship choices. He's from that simpler, more stoic generation that didn't really overthink emotional fulfillment.
But Mom, she's the central figure in all this. She's the one who really sets the stage for Kate's confusion over the idea of choice. She's the keeper of conventional expectations, even though she's adopted some modern things late in life, like discovering cooking and getting a very nice designer job for an apron.
I love that detail. But it's her attempt to impose this rigid order on their childhood that is so telling.
Oh, the famous set dinner menu,
It says so much about her need for structure, doesn't it? Monday was always bacon and cabbage.
which was a functional choice, right? To get the smell out of the house for the rest of the week.
Exactly. Tuesday was steak, Wednesday was chicken, Thursday lamb chops, and Friday was fish. A precise, unvarying schedule designed to eliminate any decision-making.
Right. And that strict routine is in such sharp contrast to the lives she sees her daughters living now. Mum's central thesis is really the heart of Kate's whole internal misery. She tells Kate that her generation has endless choices: college, career, travel, partners, marriage, kids, everything.
Whereas she, the mom, had no real choice but to marry the nicest man she could find.
And that's the paradox of freedom, isn't it?
Hmm.
Mum assumes the older generation was unhappy because they lacked options. But Kate is just as unhappy, if not more so, precisely because she has too many options. The sheer number of paths available to her is paralyzing.
It makes the comfortable habit of Keith seem like a relief. The novel seems to be saying that too much choice can be just as restrictive as no choice at all.
And just as Kate is trying to settle into this comfortable, if false, choice, her sisters are all busy blowing up the very definitions of choice and stability.
Yes, providing this backdrop of domestic revolution that perfectly mirrors Kate's own internal chaos. Take Jean, the eldest.
Jean's decision to leave Mike, who is known as the family keeper, the steadying influence after 15 years of marriage, is a seismic event.
It really is. She just suddenly leaves, saying she needs to be free to explore. It's the ultimate rejection of the ought to life.
She realizes she only loves Mike for who he is, a decent, wonderful man, but she isn't in love with him anymore. She says she needs to behave as if she wasn't married again, which suggests this deep need to reclaim some part of herself she lost along the way.
And it's complicated by her belief that Mike fell out of love with her first, which feels a bit like she's trying to save face as much as she is trying to find freedom.
And then right after Jean's chaos, you get Lucy's liberation, which provides such a powerful contrast to Kate's messy, heteronormative struggles.
Lucy, the one their aunt always called pretty on the outside and pretty on the inside,
Yeah.
announces she's gay after meeting a woman named Iris.
And in the novel, this realization is framed as a moment of profound relief. She tells Kate that relationships with women involve no games, no competitions, no decoding, which is, that's a direct shot at the kind of games Kate was playing with Daniel and the tedious second-guessing she's doing with Keith.
It suggests that authenticity, even if it's unconventional, brings a kind of clarity and ease that Kate is desperate for, but has no idea how to find.
And it's so significant that the first person Lucy confides in about Iris isn't one of her sisters. It's Mike, Jean's husband.
Right, Mike, the Rock. And he was just delighted for her. That small detail really emphasizes Mike's unique role. He's the emotional anchor for all the sisters, not just for his wife.
And the family stability is tested even further when their dad has a sudden health crisis,
Chest pains, a severe anxiety attack, and it forces him into retirement.
which leads to Marion, the clear-headed practical sister, stepping up to take over the family business, Delahunty Inc.
And this is so crucial because it's a role their dad never encouraged any of the girls to take. But Marion was keen on it.
It's another example of the Delahunty women breaking the mold, not just in their personal lives, but stepping into positions of authority, showing this generational shift toward real independence.
We should probably mention Anna, too, the distant sister.
The one in New Zealand, yeah.
Kate just notes that Anna gets along just fine. But we find out later that Anna's past involved an annulment and a lot of shame, which is part of why she moves so far away.
That's a great point. The chaos and the unconventional choices aren't actually new to the Delahunties. The difference is that Kate's generation is facing it all publicly, in Limerick.
Whereas Anna's generation felt they had to run to the other side of the world to deal with it privately.
So the stage is set. Kate is surrounded by her sisters making these huge, dramatic, authentic choices.
And it's forcing her to confront her own avoidance tactics, which leads us straight into the professional and personal confrontations she just can't ignore anymore. So on top of all the relationship drama, Kate is also miserable at work. She's a solicitor, which is a very prestigious job, but she admits very bluntly, I was really bad at it.
Yeah. And that professional misery is such a huge source of her internal conflict. It feeds that feeling she has of being a fraud.
Yeah.
And the source material really spells out how deep that failure goes. She failed her critical Black Hall Place exams 3 times.
3 times.
3 times. And it was only pride that kept her from quitting. She felt incompetent and like a misfit at her firm, O'Sullivan and Wolfe. She was just completely trapped by the sunk cost fallacy and, the fear of admitting she'd failed to her very accomplished family.
The change only happens because of Mike, Jean's now estranged husband. It's ironic, isn't it? He's detached from the main family drama, and that allows him to be the one to help her.
He helps her see that she has options. His rational, calm perspective makes her problem feel solvable for the first time.
And she does it. She quits her job to go retrain in human resources.
Which, of course, creates immediate and major friction with Keith. Because Keith, again, embodies order and predictability. They have a big row about it. He's coming from a place of, we're a partnership. We should discuss these huge life changes as an engaged couple.
Which is fair enough on one level.
It is. But he also fundamentally dismisses her pain. He thinks she's just exaggerating how miserable she was at the firm.
And that is such a massive sign of their disconnect. He eventually comes around and says he supports her 100%.
Right.
But Kate feels that even though he's listening, he wasn't heeding anything she was saying. He supports the outcome, her being happy, but he doesn't grasp the depth of her unhappiness, which means he doesn't truly understand her.
And just as she's trying to find this new professional path, she gets brutally pulled back into her messy past, that highly public, humiliating confrontation with Daniel O'Hanlon's wife.
Ugh, the scene in the Brown Thomas changing rooms, it's agonizingly detailed. Kate is semi-naked, trying on a dress, and she overhears Daniel's wife, who is heavily pregnant with their 5th child, and her friend.
And the wife recognizes Kate, and she does not hesitate.
Not at all.
She barges right into the cubicle, and in front of her friend, just unleashes on her. She calls Kate the little bitch who screwed my husband.
Dismisses her as scum with a foul stench.
It is total moral and public annihilation for Kate. She's stripped bare physically and metaphorically.
She's left feeling wretched, just full of guilt and self-reproach, and she's craving absolution. But I wonder about the sisterly response here. Lucy tries to make her feel better, right?
Yeah.
She argues Kate was actually the victim, saying, he did the dirty on you. Is that true? Or is Lucy just minimizing Kate's own culpability in the affair?
That's a really interesting question. I think on one hand, it's just pure sisterly protection. Lucy is trying to rebuild Kate's sense of self after that savage attack. But on the other hand, Kate knows her own agency in this. She was a willing participant. So the confrontation, as brutal as it is, kind of serves as necessary shock therapy. It forces her to see what she had with Daniel for what it was, a sordid affair, not the superior, exciting romance she'd built it up to be in her head.
And the irony is that the stability she was trying to find with Keith was actually embodied by someone else all along. Mike. Which brings us to this burgeoning and very problematic connection with her ex-brother-in-law.
Mike's role is so essential here. He's known as the family's absolute rock. Always there, always supportive. And Kate remembers his kindness going all the way back to when she was 11. He'd buy her Mars bars, lend her his records, Blue Oyster Cult, Deep Purple, Led Zeppelin.
I love that detail. It shows he always had this patience, this gentle nature. He took time for the awkward younger sister, shared his interests with her, even though it annoyed Jean.
He wasn't just kind, he was formative for her. She admits she used to fantasize about marrying Mike herself one day, back when she was just a kid tagging along on his dates with Jean.
So that affection was always there, just simmering under the surface, waiting for an opportunity.
And that opportunity comes after Jean leaves. Mike comes over to help Kate cook dinner for the sisters, what she calls the Pinot Noir afternoon.
Yes. And that domestic setting is so key. The quiet, the shared task, the wine. It creates an intimacy that's the complete opposite of the forced formality she has with Keith.
They're sitting there in silence, and Kate thinks she feels so at ease. Yet there's the sense that we're on the edge of something very exciting.
That's the formula she's been missing, isn't it? Ease combined with excitement, a stable glow that still has a spark.
Exactly. And as he's leaving, they share this brief but totally unmistakable kiss. It starts as a friendly kiss on the cheek, but it turns. The edge of his mouth brushed the edge of mine.
It's only a few seconds, but it's electric. He knew it. She knew it. The seed is planted.
And it completely undermines the entire facade of her impending marriage to Keith.
And once that seed is planted, you just know that false structure is doomed to shatter.
And that facade finally does shatter during this very fraught trip to a cousin's wedding in rural Clare. Keith is just incredibly stressed. He's got work pressure, the drive is long, and now he has to navigate this big family social event. The emotional pressure cooker is about to explode.
It all starts with the hat. The fucking great hat, as she calls it. It's this great symbol of their discord. Kate, who is desperate to make a great big statement and get her confidence back after the whole Daniel humiliation, rents this enormous wide-brimmed hat.
And Keith just complains about it constantly. The hat box is too big, it's in the way, and he keeps insisting, with total exasperation, that nobody else will wear a hat.
It's not about the hat, though, is it?
Yeah.
It's a total breakdown in their shared values. Kate needs drama, flair, a distraction. Keith needs practicality and order.
The hat is just the physical manifestation of the gulf that's been widening between them for months.
And the pressure is just intensified by Keith's mother, Irene, who is treating this cousin's wedding like a dress rehearsal for their own.
Oh, she's critiquing everything. Too many flowers, the bridesmaid dresses are too expensive, the table favors will never be worn again. She's trying to control Kate's wedding before it even exists, just adding another layer of suffocating expectation.
And the big argument finally ignites over the wedding ceremony itself. Kate, who's already feeling trapped, dismisses the whole ritual as silly and demeaning, especially the roles of bridesmaids and best men.
And Keith, who is already so hassled and just emotionally drained, finally snaps.
It's so uncharacteristic for him. He threatens to drive straight back to Limerick if they don't leave right then. The relationship has just stopped working. He's at his limit.
He's been absorbing her unhappiness for too long.
The actual breakup happens shortly after, back at Kate's flat. Keith shows up looking ashen, and with immense difficulty, he says the words she's been waiting to hear. It's not going to work. We can't get married.
And here we get the single most important plot twist of the entire novel. The moment that Keith becomes this kind of tragic hero, he reveals the truth. He's known about the Daniel O'Hanlon affair since the very first night they met.
Wow.
One of Kate's work colleagues told him. And that detail, that profound betrayal, was not the reason he's breaking up with her.
Think about that for a second. He absorbed that knowledge, kept it to himself, and stayed with her anyway. Why?
Because he loved her that much.
Yeah.
He was willing to accept her flaws, her past mistakes. The actual reason he's ending it, which he articulates with this devastating clarity, is that he finally realized she was not in love with him.
His sacrifice was for her happiness, not his own security.
It is a moment of profound emotional courage on his part. He was so caught up in loving her that he didn't see she was only in love with the idea of a safe harbor, something she'd built out of his sincerity. And then Keith delivers the final, undeniable revelation.
He tells her, flat out, that she's in love with Mike.
And hearing someone else say it, it's like a geometric proof. It forces Kate to see the blindingly obvious truth she's been running from. She is wholly and utterly in love with my ex-brother-in-law.
And it's a stunning moment of emotional freedom for her, but it's delivered not by her own courage, but by Keith's self-sacrifice. She feels this immense gratitude to him for being stronger and braver than she was, for saving her from the agony of a false marriage that would have destroyed them both.
Their ending is so amicable. They hug, their tears mingle, tears of relief, not despair, and she gives him the ring back. She admits she would have gone through with it, but Keith knew better. He was strong enough to destroy the lie to save them both.
So now Kate is technically free, but the Mike obstacle's still there.
Right. The passion is there. We see that at her 30th birthday party when Mike kisses her passionately in the garden.
But she panics. She runs as soon as Lucy calls her name, still terrified of her own desires.
And then once she is definitively single, she confronts Mike, expecting things to just proceed.
And he rejects her.
He rejects her. And this is such a crucial pivot point for his character. His refusal is all about loyalty to his estranged wife, Jean. He says, "You're not free, I'm not free."
He will not betray Jean for her sister, even though his marriage is over. When Kate says Jean will get over it, he says, I still care what happens to her.
And that moment elevates Mike from just another potential illicit affair into a man of real moral integrity. He's proving he actually is the rock Kate needs. He wants her, but not at the expense of his honor, a quality Daniel O'Hanlon never had.
And the path is finally cleared, ironically, by Jean herself, the sister who started this whole chain reaction. Kate confesses everything to her. The breakup, her feelings for Mike and Jean's response is so surprisingly mature.
She says, "I'm not over the moon about this, but I'm not going to make you swear never to see him again. Mike and I are over."
And Jean's acceptance is the final piece of absolution Kate needed.
Yes. It frees them from the moral burden of secrecy and betrayal, and it clears the way for Kate and Mike to finally pursue an honest relationship out in the open.
Okay, so with the path now cleared, both emotionally and socially, Kate has one final confrontation that really cements her evolution. And that's the brief, messy return of Daniel O'Hanlon.
Right. Daniel, who's been struggling at home with 5 young children, shows up at her flat looking completely haggard. Crumpled suit, greasy hair, and he's trying to reignite the affair, looking for a quick escape.
And Kate's response is just definitive. And it's physical. She gets physically sick. She vomits from pure revulsion.
It's the ultimate anticlimax to her great, passionate mistake. She realizes what they had was nothing more than a sordid affair, a very old, very sorry mistake.
She tells him she's amazed I ever did feel anything for him.
And that physical reaction, it's the final validation that her shift towards stability and authenticity is real. Daniel, who used to symbolize excitement, now just represents stagnation and decay. She has definitively chosen a different path.
And that moment of clarity is exactly what Mike needed to see, I think.
I think so too. He appears at her door, unannounced, on a rainy evening, finally ready to stop denying his feelings.
His confession is just beautiful because it establishes that their connection is built on a real, long-standing love, not just some new attraction of convenience.
He reveals he'd loved her since she was a messy student in her 3rd year of college. He confesses he used to plot the slow and painful death of her pimply boyfriend back then, out of pure jealousy.
And what's so profound about that admission is that Mike fell in love with her before all of this. Before she was the complicated, polished woman trying to find validation. He loved her messy, incomplete student self.
Exactly. His love transcends the kind of superficial appreciation that Keith offered. And he recalls that Pinot Noir afternoon when they cooked together, and he tells her, "I could see a life together for us, simple, ordinary, just the two of us."
And that vision of quiet, ordinary contentment is the authentic connection Kate has been searching for all along, far away from the drama of Daniel or the forced formality of Keith.
They move in together almost right away. Mike's finished renovating his house, and there's this great architectural detail.
The spiral staircase?
The spiral staircase leading up to this airy, white attic bedroom that he designed specifically for Kate. It's symbolic of the new perspective, the freedom he's offering her.
He's old-fashioned, though. He wants to marry her and have children. He says, very pragmatically, it's better to be married when children are involved.
But Kate, who is, soured by the whole engagement process with Keith, only agrees to marry him once his divorce from Jean is final.
They keep a low profile with the family at first, but her parents are just glad to have Mike back in the fold. The family rock is stable again.
And the novel does a great job of wrapping everything up, showing us the new, stable ecosystem of the Delahunty women. And stability comes in so many different forms.
Jean is happily single. She's a successful career woman with an internet travel business, fully independent. Marion is successfully running the family company.
And Lucy and Iris are a stable couple, co-parenting their daughter Rosa with the biological father who is just a friend. The sisters have all found their own unique versions of happiness, despite all the drama it took to get there.
And even Keith gets a happy ending.
He does.
Kate runs into him, and he's doing well, he's happy, and he's seeing a girl he knew in college who also works at the Shannon plant. Someone who actually fits into his life.
And he tells Kate explicitly that he is still glad he'd done what he did, and that he will always owe her such a lot.
He saved them both from a lie. He was brave enough to say the truth, and they both found the right partners as a result. Keith is genuinely one of the most selfless characters in the whole novel. #outro.
When you look back on Kate's entire journey, what stands out most, I think, is that fundamental shift. She goes from seeking a partner who would define her, Daniel offered status, Keith offered stability, to finally finding the courage to define happiness on her own terms.
Yeah, she shed the ought to, being the solicitor she hated, marrying Keith out of duty for starting a new life with Mike, maybe managing a cafe, just embracing authenticity. And it really brings home that central theme of choice that her mother introduced. Mom had none. Kate had too many. And finding her way to true stability required making these painful, dramatic cuts. And really, it was driven by the courage that Keith showed her.
The final image of the family, all gathered around that big mahogany table, it's a picture of contentment that was achieved through embracing the unconventional. Dad is retired, mom is happy, and all six sisters have found their own stable units, whether that's through career independence, a second chance at conventional love, or a stable lesbian partnership. They found their balance because of the drama, not despite it.
And here's where it gets really interesting for me, and it connects back to Mike's confession. He admitted he had loved Kate since she was that messy, incomplete student in her third year, chasing pimply boyfriends and relying on day-glow bronzing powder. This was long before she became the complicated, guarded woman that Keith fell for.
Which leaves us with a really important question for you, the listener, to think about. Does true, lasting love require seeing and accepting a partner's most vulnerable, incomplete self? Or is it only recognizable and maybe only safe to embrace once that person has fought their way through their own chaos and found their own path?
Is love about spotting the potential? Or is it really all about timing the acceptance of stability? Something to think about as you navigate the architecture of your own desires.